Hey guys, and welcome back to Code&Gamology. Today, we're creating a game called Rapid Runs. Now, if you ever wanted to create a racing game, today we're going to be covering all of the concepts of a racing game. Now, let's begin by demonstrating. At the beginning, there are instructions, the controls to drive your car, which are the up arrow and down arrow. There will be the obstacles, the boxes, shrubs, and walls. And if you click this next button again, there will be another page. The buffs. The speed burst is a buff. And then it also has its own description. And if we click on this again, we'll have the goal. Now, the goal is to reach a speed of 20 miles per hour. So if we click next, we get into the game. I'm using the arrow keys to control and steer my car. I'm avoiding the boxes. And I crashed, so I lose 6 miles per hour. Every time you hit a star, you gain 5 miles per hour. And when you get more than 20 miles per hour, then you get this page, which says completed rapid runs. You won the game. And that's not too hard. And you get a pot of bones. And you get this silly picture. So now, without further ado, let's go create this fun game. Okay, so like I always say, start with the backdrops. So our backdrop is very useful this time since it divides our bottom part and the top part. So that means it divides the two cars. So I simply draw this simple circle, circle, circle for the bushes. Now you may draw anything you want for this. Okay, so I got this car. You can do it any way you want. It can even be a shark. But let's start with coding. So at the beginning, we really want this car. We really want this car to go to point in direction 90 and to go into this position. Now you might ask, where is this position? So if I ultra hide this and then also hide this, you could see that this position is somewhere here. Now you can also set it to anywhere you like, but keep in mind that if you put it here, that will basically be the end of your obstacles traveling. Now forever, we want to make sure that these shrubs are actually bouncy. So we make it that if it's touching the shrub's color, it will repeat 10 times to change Y by 8, which is kind of like this effect, except it kind of gets stuck at the bottom. Now, the next one, the go to here, it's still the same thing. But forever, if it's touching the edge, so if we were to touch this, that's the edge of the wall. That's to make you bounce back. Now, when start, it's going to hide the variable miles per hour. So I think we should probably create the variable miles per hour. Now, you might think, well, what we're going to use it for. You might think you know what we're going to use for it. But we're going to do another way. So one start's going to hide the variable miles per hour. And forever, if the miles per hour is less than 0, it's going to set the miles per hour to 0. So the logic of what this does is basically saying that the miles per hour will never get less than 0. So if your miles per hour is at 0 and then you touch a box, which minuses your miles per hour by 6, you don't get negative 6 miles per hour. You simply get 0 still. Now we're going to create a message called win. When we get win, we just simply stop all this group and sprite. And start forever, we gotta get these controls. So when start forever, if the key up arrow, we're gonna change it by 10 times Y by 3. Now you can do it the other way by simply typing 30 in here, and that'll give us the same result. But change Y by 1 simply just moves it up. So I want to have this effect that makes it look like it kind of is slower than the arrow keys a little bit. Now we're going to create another message. Its name is going to be called hit. And hit means that we're just hit in by the obstacle, which is our box in this case, but you can use anything else. Now it's going to point in the direction 90, and it's going to turn negative 30 degrees, so it kind of looks like it's wobbly. And then change miles per hour by -2, and then it does all that. So what it's going to look like is going to be something like this. Kind of like a little shake. So this is simply like this. Turning this way -30, and then turning this way 30, and then turning this way -30, and turning this 30. Now, you might not understand why I did -30 degrees. Well, what does this mean? Well, -30 simply means that it's going negatively by 30, which is the other direction. So turning the other direction by 30. And when start, it's going to switch your costume to costume 1, which will only have one costume. But just to be sure, I always put this one in, because in case you accidentally click this, like a lot of times, it won't switch out to these random costumes, because the only costume 1 we have here is costume 1. Now we're simply going to duplicate this car, but what we're going to do is we're going to delete all the blocks. But we're still going to keep the win, and then stop all the ribbon sprites here, and the this code, the wobble code. And now just to make sure we see it, I'm going to delete that too. So it's a wobble. Now when it starts, it's going to win, and then when I receive win, it's going to stop all this ribbon sprite. Now when it starts, it's going to go to the exact opposite of this car, the dog, and if on edge, it's going to bounce and point in direction 90. Okay, so why are we going to put an if on edge bounce? Well, we're simply going to do that just because if we're on the edge, we're going to bounce. And when it's in hit cat, it does that. Now, why are we going to receiving hit cat? Well, you've seen that there's this box cat obstacle. So it basically hits the cat. And so forever, also if it's touching the green thing, it also bounces, but it goes up instead of negative. It goes positive, which means it goes up. Because you don't want this cat to come blasting towards our player. And when we receive start, we're going to go to this position, which is still the same position as here. And forever, it's going to do this, change y by pick random -10 to 10, and wait 0.1 to 0.2 seconds. So basically kind of moves like this, and it's a bit random. Oh wow, we're already done with the 2 main characters. Now it's time to add obstacles. So you might think that, yeah, this obstacle is a very, very hard one, but no, it's actually pretty easy. So let's start. So for this box obstacle, what we do is we actually use clones. So when it starts as clones, forever, if it's touching the car 1 or the player, it's going to put the sound scrumlessly and broadcast hit. That's what it does. Now when I receive win, it's going to stop with all this ribbon sprite. Now when I receive start, though, it's going to show the variables miles per hour, hide. And forever, it's going to create the clones and wait, pick random 1 to 5 seconds. You can actually use a number instead of using pick random, but I use this so it's random for every spawn. Now we're going to have another when it starts clone. When it starts clone, it's going to show go to, the X has to be -230. So it's going to be like somewhere here. Anyway, on this area. And the Y is pick random -171 to 10. Now, maybe wondering what and why. Well, first we applied the shrub obstacle. So what we're going to do is we don't want this box to be hanging up right here. So we're going to drag it to the bottom, which is -171. And all the way to the top as you can go, which is somewhere near like 15 or 10. But yours is definitely different. And it's going to glide 5 seconds to -230, which is somewhere like all the way over here. And the Y position is going to stay as the Y position its current Y position is. Wow, we're done with the obstacle. Wow, let's do the next thing. So we're going to have a mission title. The mission title isn't really hard, but it basically just states the quest and the rapid runs. And now it's going to, when it receives win, it also stops all the ribbon sprite. Now when it receives start, it hides. The complete opposite of the other sprites. And when it starts, it's going to go to front layer and show. And it's going to go to this X -577 and 28, which is something like up here. Like that. So it's going to be something like this. which is what this is supposed to do. Now, how are we going to do that? It's going to go, and then it's going to glide through about 3 seconds down. So it's here. So its X is originally here, and it glides here with this sound. So that's basically what it's doing. And you can change this to 1 second. Any seconds you want, and just go slower. But I still like my original this second, so it's faster. And then broadcast instructions, which activates here. The instructions activates this, which is the next thing we're gonna code. So when it starts, it's gonna switch costume to its costume 1. Oh, did I mention that we need to create these slides ourselves? You can create slides about your controls. You can create slides as obstacles. You can create the buffs. You can create the goal. Now, you should create your slides first, so you should probably pause the video before you continue watching once you have created the slides. Now we're done with the slides, we should probably add some very, very important code. So you gotta pay attention for this one. So once done, it's gonna definitely switch costume to your first costume and hide. Okay, why is it hiding? When it receives win, it's gonna stop the other strip and sprite. When I receive next, it's very, very important, hide. What? If the costume number is equal to the final number, which is 4, you look right here, it's 4 for me, but it may be different for you. You have to enter the costume number has to equal the amount. Then it's going to broadcast the message start, which basically is like a key, and it starts all of the code. Now else, it's going to just do the next costume and then go to this 0 and then just kind of go down like that. Of course. And when it receives instructions, of course, that this broadcast, it's going to go to this position and then go down and play the high whoosh sound. And then this, you don't really need to add this. This is not really important. This is just for extra effect. When I receive start, forever, it's going to wait, pick random 1 to 5 seconds, play the car horn. Okay, looks like we're done with already 5 sprites. Now let's keep going. So this next is also very, very important, okay? So you gotta get the exact position and place lined up. You see this next right over here? So when it starts, it's gonna go to the front there and it's gonna hide. When it receives win, it's gonna stop the other strip and sprite. When it receives instructions, it's gonna show and glide, still about 6 seconds to that position, which is the position it's right in. So the bottom right corner, the top right corner, the top left corner, and the bottom left corner could all be positions for this to hit. Now when this sprite is clicked, it's going to start the sound 10 hits hit and broadcast next. Because, why did it automatically start the game? Well, that's because what we did was that this was already on its final. So it starts the game. And when it receives start, it's going to hide. Huh? When it receives start, it's going to hide. Why? Well, that's because the game starts, so we don't want it to show anymore, or this would just be blocking your view. When it receives next, though, it's going to do this little fall down. You can change the seconds if you want. Now, a speed burst. Woohoo! We're on to our buffs. So, a speed burst, like the obstacles, uses it. So, I think that you can just basically do this and then copy all this code from here over to the speed burst. Okay, so now that everything is on our speed burst, let's start again. So when I start as clone forever, if touching the column player, which is also found here, we're going to just grab out the insides and turn it to the start sound magic spell, and it's going to change our miles per hour by 5. Now when I receive start, it's going to hide. Forever, it's going to create clone of selves and wait pick random 1 to 10 seconds. Now when it starts as a clone show, it's going to do the same little transfer thing. You can't see it, but it's going to do the same little thing. And it's the same time. Now, when I receive win, it's also going to stop the strip and sprites. Now, when start, it's also going to set the miles per hour to 5. So if you're going to have the miles per hour goal to be 50 or anything else like that, that's pretty high, this is going to be your beginning amount. So at the beginning, my car is driving at 5 miles per hour, and I have to collect 3 of them to get 20, without assuming I'm not crashing to the obstacles. When I start as clone forever, it's going to change color effect by 1. This is optional, but this simply just changes its color so it looks cool. Okay, wow, we're doing it pretty fast. Let's go to our succeed title. Okay, so when start, it's going to go here, which is at the very top. Here, and it's going to hide. Now, when start, it's going to set the miles per hour to 0, okay? Why is it setting to 0 when we want it to be 5? Well, sometimes you could add like multiple things, but the 5 is still going to be stacking it on top. So it's going to go to front layer. However, if, for instance, the miles per hour is greater than 20, or mile per hour is equivalent to 20, then it's going to do the carve room, which is something like this. It's going to do that. And that simply just starts everything. Now, I'll recommend you not to hide all of your sprites like I did, but just because I'm trying to show you the screen, you don't really have to. So when start, it's going to hide and go to the front layer, and it's also going to go somewhere up here, which is all the way up there. And it's going to be playing the techno sound. So this is the one playing the music. Okay, and when it receives win, it's going to show and do this toy zing and high whoosh. I found out they're a pretty good combination. And then they're going to glide down. Wow, that's fast. Okay, now we're done with that. Wow, we're working pretty quickly. Let's do it this one. What is this? This is the road. You might be like, road what? You probably noticed that we have lines coming out here. Well, because we have to code it. Because if we don't make it move, people will think that we're just staying in one place and the stars and boxes are just coming towards us automatically. So let's code it. When it starts as clone, it's going to go to the back layer, show, and then glide like this. And then when we receive start, of course, show miles per hour, hide. So this is the main sprite. It's going to forever do this. What? It's moving. It's going to this position, creating a clone, going to this position, creating a clone, going to this position, creating a clone, and waiting 2 seconds. That's how it looks like it's moving. Now you might be wondering why it feels like this main sprite is not moving at all. Well, that's because going and creating clones is very, very quickly. So now I just want you to keep in mind that you have to change the Y, not the X. And the bottom, the wait 2 seconds, is just the distance between these lines. So keep that in mind. And then we're going to duplicate this and simply have the same exact thing. I don't need to go through this again, but this. We changed the Y again, okay? So this time it's for the things up there. Okay, so now that we looked at that, I just want you to realize that how I made these glide the same speed and wait the same seconds. Now why? Well, it'll look like this car was driving faster than this car, or this car was driving faster than that car. And in that case, that'll be pretty weird. And then we're going to do the box car obstacle. It's very, very easy. You don't need to duplicate these because it doesn't have that much code. So in start, it's gonna show him forever. It's just gonna glide, go to glide, like that. So this cat is pretty sad because it's guaranteed to be hit. It can't dodge. And it's gonna block out this hit cat. And then this speed burst is basically the same thing. It still changes colors. And it's still gonna set the miles per hour to 5, but it's just gonna go to, and then kind of like drive like that, and then kind of go back. So it's kind of like this. It's like this cat gets both things and foreverly repeats like that. And then the last thing, we're on the very, very last sprite. So this sprite just basically lists scratch, rapid runs, and basically all of it. And we use these very, very powerful 4 blocks of code we usually use. When start, set ghost effect to 100, forever go to front layer. Now, you are done with this racing game. Let's test it out. Oh, and don't forget to make this show if you made it hide. So let's play it. Next. Vroom, vroom, vroom. Ow! Oh well. Keep driving. Oh no, I'm gonna hit it. Oh man, I hit it again. This is like a very, very challenging game. So the higher you make the miles per hour, the harder it's gonna be. It's very hard to get 20. Oh, we survived. We got 20. Bye, and thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Bye.